What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Klepcx FM, brought to you by wearecritics.com, a place where we talk about movies, television, and pop culture. And if you're into that kind of thing, make sure you hit that subscribe key and that notification bell so you can be up to speed about everything that I talk about here. Now, Wandavision, episode 7, has in fact gone down without a hitch. And as much as it answered a bunch of questions, it still remains to leave us with a ton of questions. Like, for instance, the twins, where did they run off to, or float off to, or absorb into? And that book that we saw in the basement of Agnes's house, or should I say Agatha Harkness, what was that? Was it the Darkhold? I mean, listen, we're going to get into all of that in just a second, but first things first, I want to talk about how awesome of an episode this was. Like, this episode was probably, I mean, we say this every single week, this one was probably the best episode, but it really was. I mean, it did start off a little bit slow. The intro, loved it. They gave a nod to the more modern day type sitcom, family sitcoms, like Modern Family, and it was a little bit of The Office in there, based off of just the imagery and the music in the background. Sound very, very Office-like, and I think they pulled that off very, very well. The intro, which we kind of got a sneak peek of the intro on the internet, earlier that day from Good Morning America, where we saw a little bit of fourth wall breaking and Wanda talking to the camera, and just kind of, giving that whole Modern Family vibe, with the fourth wall breaking and talking about the night before and Halloween. So we know that this episode takes place exactly the next morning. She's even still wearing the classic Scarlet Witch outfit, which is pretty cool. The continuity in the way that the story is flowing and the way that they tell it is awesome. I have no complaints there. I think they're doing a damn good job. But yeah, there was so much given, but then there was so much that was just kind of left. They like to leave us hanging. We got to see Darcy interact with Vision, which was, I know we were all waiting for that because we wanted Vision to get his answers. Like, poor Vision, he doesn't know what's going on. She finally breaks through, and Vision unlocks her, and then they start talking about his past and how he ended up dying and things of that nature. And he's kind of understanding more now about what Wanda may be going through and why this whole hex exists in the first place. Next, we get to see Monica, interacting with Jimmy Woo, and they're planning and plotting in. The hype about the engineer. Boy, were we fooled. Everyone, the entire internet was talking, fan casting, wishfully thinking, and it was none other than someone that we really don't care about. What was her name? Dr. Goodner. I don't know who that is. It's not a name in the comic that popped up or anything like that when I did my search, but yeah, I think that was the switch and bait. They had us focused on one thing when there was a major reveal, but it wasn't the reveal that you were expecting, and we're going to talk about that. So Monica attempts to go back into the hex. Bam, doesn't work out the way they expected it to work, but in this, we got what we all were hoping for. And, guys, Photon is real. Photon is now here. Monica Rambeau has, in fact, gained her abilities by her DNA being rewritten, going through the hex so many times, which is kind of close to the comic origin of Monica Rambeau. She is hit by some interdimensional kind of energy, which gives her her abilities to turn her body into energy. So it's not too far off, but at the same time, MCU, I mean, they changed the origin of one of their biggest Avengers, which was the Hulk. A lot of people think that it was a gamma ray experiment, but in the comic, it was actually a nuclear explosion. He was in a bomb shelter, saved the kid, moved the kid out the way, and he ended up getting his powers that way. But I mean, that's neither there nor here. There's always different iterations throughout the comics as comics become more modernized. They modernize the storylines to kind of fit today, and I'm okay with it. I mean, I've been dying to see Monica fall into her powers, and she seems like I love the little standoff between her and Wanda. I thought that was absolutely the best part. I'm sitting there cheering like, yo, Monica, yo, Photon. I'm calling her Photon. I'm calling her by name. And if you guys notice, there was a little foreshadowing there when Monica came through the hex and she took the astronaut suit off. Her outfit resembled Photon to a T. The only difference was it had the sword logo on the lines that came down her chest, but her outfit was literally the Photon costume. And I know they did that on purpose just to give a nod to the character, but I'm curious to see what's going on with that. This episode really did kind of fly by because everything that I'm telling you are like all the key points and all the things that you really needed to focus on. And then right then and there, we see the true nature of Agatha come out, which we got a little glimpse of earlier when she comes in and she just always shows up at the right time. She always knows when to show up. And a lot of people have been picking up on that since the first couple of episodes. And in this case, Wanda's like damn near, she's about to have her mental breakdown. And they use the hex and her surroundings to kind of narrate her emotion very well without her actually having a full-on meltdown. I was speaking with a colleague, like one of my partners and critics, who's very in tune with mental health and understanding how an individual can how it feels to be internal like that, and things changing around her and her feeling out of control and not being able to control the situation as clear-cut signs. Marvel has done a great job in showcasing her mental stability or instability without actually being on the nose about it. And we haven't seen nothing yet. I know this for a fact. I'm afraid of how dark and how twisted this may get once she's reached her wit's end and her breaking point. But they do a great job with being subtle about it and making it entertaining and being fun. But I really feel like this is not going to end well for Wanda and a lot of people maybe in the hex. Maybe not even for Hayward, who didn't get a lot of shine in this episode, which I'm okay with because he's made his presence felt. He's done what he needs to do to get us onto the last two episodes. I'm sure we'll see him again, but he was very, very minimal in this. So Agnes notices Monica Rambeau facing off with Captain Marvel and comes out immediately and kind of just intervenes. At this point, everyone's off script. Whatever Wanda was doing, to keep people trapped, it's at this point it's a free for all. Everyone's just kind of doing their own thing. Main characters, I should say. I mean, everybody else is kind of like business as usual. But there were spectators. They did stop to stare and see what was going on. And as soon as Agatha, we're gonna call her Agatha, no more Agnes. As soon as Agatha intervened and when she touched Wanda, you could see that she wasn't herself anymore. And she kind of just does what Agatha tells her to do and walks off. And Monica's like, what? This doesn't concern you. And she has no say, no control. She walks her off, and then immediately everyone around spectating just kind of snapped back into character, business as usual. And I noticed it was a cool nod. The mailman, when he was moving the packages, clear cut, there was a sticker that said "Fragile, handle with care," and I thought that was kind of cool and unsettling the way they threw that nod after we saw Agatha kind of come in and rescue Wanda from this stressful situation between Monica and her. Then we get into Agatha's house for the first time. Still no sign of Ralph. I mean, she's always bragging on and talking about Ralph, but there was no Ralph in that house. And it was a little creepy. It was a little cold. It didn't feel like any of the other sets or anybody else's. Well, we haven't really seen anyone else's house other than Dottie, Phil, and Wanda. But Wanda's sitting there and she notices, there's peanut butter and jelly with the cut off edges. I think it was Yo Gabba Gabba that was on television, something like that. And she's watching. She's like, well, where are the twins? Agatha's like, probably playing in the basement, which somebody said that to me. I'm like, why are my kids in your damn basement? Then we go down to the basement and what do we see? We see like this dungeon looking, like coven-esque decor and on the table. I don't know if any of you caught this, but I'm pretty sure that book was the Darkhold, or definitely one of those books from where Doctor Strange and Wong, were doing this studying, and we've seen this book in Agents of Shield. We've seen this book in Doctor Strange. I'm pretty sure it was the Darkhold. I'm going to go back again and watch it. I've watched this thing like 3 times already. I'm going to go back and definitely dive in and check it again. But I don't want to know everything because I want to speculate with you guys, and I want you to tell me what you think. But I definitely felt like that book was the Darkhold, which is huge. Now, in saying that, we get the big reveal everybody's been waiting for. Agnes is in fact Agatha Harkness, who we all kind of knew, but we were really hoping that Marvel was going to actually hit the nail on the head for us and say, yes, this is her. Thank God. I was excited. I was like, yes. Not because I didn't know or that I didn't assume, but because the suspense had finally left my body. Like, I felt so free and relieved that we finally got a clear cut answer about a character in the show, and I was all for it. Yeah, the story's a little twisted, but I had a feeling. I said this to multiple people. I said, listen, the Mephisto, the Nightmare thing, I mean, we still don't know if they're in play or out of play yet, but I feel as though for casuals, that's a little bit of a deep dive. Marvel will keep it simple because they know that their fan base expands beyond comic book enthusiasts like myself and probably like some of you. But you got to kind of keep the simple you got to keep the story relatable, but at the same time a little bit grounded. So it makes sense that there's another sorceress out there or someone who's into dark magic and witchcraft who stumbled upon who Wanda was and kind of wanted to for selfish reasons kind of sneak in, or even maybe she's trying to help Wanda. Maybe she did seem like she did care, which I also think might be like a switch and bait where she appears to be the villain, but she's probably really not the villain, but she thinks that what she's doing for Wanda is best for Wanda, but at the same time it's selfish and borderline evil. Marvel doesn't seem to be really clear cut with their villains. They're never just straight up bad guys. I mean, look at Zemo, look at Thanos. You know what I mean? Like the only clear cut villain that I could ever remember was Red Skull. He was the only one who, I mean, and even he was like both sides of the coin, but just in a really sadistic kind of way. But maybe more sadistic than others. But I feel like maybe she was there to help Wanda. Maybe Wanda found her, and they were. I don't know. I feel like they're more connected than what they're making it seem like. Agnes was behind it all. They do this quirky, the Munsters theme, and they, which was funny as hell. To kind of lighten the mood because it did get a little dark at that moment, but then they kind of pull back and get a little silly with it to kind of close off the episode. One big thing that I really think, and this is my speculation, and then we're going to wrap this up because I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. My big speculation is that I think that the Multiverse of Madness, or the multiverse, has been set up. It has been explained, and I'm going to tell you why. In the commercial, we know that they're always dropping these nods in these commercials, and in the commercial, it was sort of a depression medication type of commercial, like you see these days. Everything is kind of depression medication, medicate yourself, and it was called Nexus, which was short for some, I can't remember the long term of the medication, but the Nexus for if you want to escape or go to a new reality. That was like the spiel. For those of you who do not know, there is a thing which is referred to as the Nexus of realities. Yes, the Nexus of realities in the comic. It is in Fear number 11, which is very closely tied to Man-Thing and other entities out there like Howard the Duck. In this series, Man-Thing finds out, after dealing with a sorceress by the name of Jennifer Kale, he finds out that the swamp that he is like an interdimensional portal for the Nexus of realities. Is that what it's called? The Nexus. It is called the Nexus Realities. And through this, he fights different bad guys and monsters and things of that nature. Even Howard the Duck comes through and gets trapped in our reality that way. So I'm not saying we will, but maybe we will see a Howard the Duck series or a Man Thing series or something of that nature. But this, I think that Nexus commercial is really, really what's gonna be the end game of this, like, or play a really huge part in this. Maybe Agatha wants access to it, and through Wanda, it's helping her. I don't know. There's just so many more questions, and we only got 2 more episodes, y'all, and I'm super excited about this. I really want to know what you guys thought about this episode and what you think about my theories and the things that I'm breaking down. Please like, share, comment. And I want to talk more about the dynamic. You know what else was cool? The dynamic of watching every era of sitcom family television next to each other, next to one another, side by side. You really see a big difference in, I don't even want to say progression, but digression of, you went from the 2 working adults to this family-oriented, very tight-knit, very close, warm, loving household, to then the very selfish and introvert lifestyle. I mean, this new episode, she was like so disconnected. She didn't even want to have anything to do with her own children, and that kind of is like a reflection of modern families these days. Like, no pun, but like the modern take is like everyone's so abrupt and so in your face and so woke that they can't even just escape for a second to be loving and nurturing towards their family. It's like everyone, like, she was just so quick to just let her kids go off with a stranger whom she doesn't really even know, really, and just kind of take the day to herself and be self-indulged. And just like, if you look at the progressions, it's really unnerving about America's take on American family throughout decades. But again, I really would like to know what you guys thought about this episode and what you think about my theories. If I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, let's talk about it, guys. Like, comment, share. Make sure you subscribe. And for more movie news, television news, pop culture, and our podcast, Critics Talk, make sure you guys check out wearecritics.com.